We're in the garden today. It's about time, right? It's the end of May and I still have not given you a garden tour. I know I'm awful for that. You know, I've been putting this off, really putting this off. We've had flooding, we've had, my weeds have been out of control. My neighbor likes to tease me. He comes in, he looks around, and he compliments me on my healthy crop of weeds. It's pretty bad. You'll see that by what's still in the beds and by what's all over the ground. But anyway, at this point, I figure if I don't show you that I'm gardening, you're probably going to assume that I'm not this year for whatever reason. Or, yeah, you know what? My garden's a mess. It just is what it is. I'm busy, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one. There's probably a lot of you who get busy and you're embarrassed to show anyone your garden. And let's just don't live like that, you know? Let's be transparent and show each other our messes. Here's mine. So, as you're about to see, we completely ripped out everything from last year. Rebuilt with an entirely new design, which we scrapped about 1,000 times, and then just kind of started building without a design. This is what we ended up with. Now, it's still fairly young. There's a lot of stuff that's going to grow up that hasn't yet. So, imagine the trellises full of vibrant leaves, flowers, and amazing things. But for today, here's the entrance. Just come in here, swing open the cattle panel. In the entryway here, it's going to take some time for it to fill in, but we've got hardy kiwi planted in here. This is a hardy kiwi. It's going to get really long and vigorous vines and going to be really awesome. I'm really excited. I've actually never tried a hardy kiwi. I've tried regular kiwi, but hardy kiwi are supposed to be a little bit different. So I'm pretty excited to see these go, but they're going to take a couple years to really fill in. It's an investment in a beautiful future. All right, so once you walk in, we're kind of looking around. On the edges, the edge border of the entire garden is tomato plants. In total, right now, in this garden, in the ground, in the dirt, we have 138 tomato plants. It's a lot. Now, interplanted with those are all kinds of things. We've got petunias and marigolds to help fight hornworms and aphids and other nasty things. And then we have totally random beans coming up and beets and just all kinds of things. So standing back here and looking at the first couple beds, we've got peas going down the middle of each of these rows, which should be trellised. But I didn't quite get around to it because I was super busy, and now it's gotten so late that I'm like, whatever. We'll have trellises in place this fall so that they're ready for spring planting. I had not enough room in my outer beds for all the tomatoes, so we made a row going down that side of that. And so now we got peppers and marigolds going down here. We have a variety of kinds of peppers. A lot of them are different colors. The bell peppers. Look at all the flooding we've had. Everything is a mess. I've been doing some weeding, and so my rows are a mess. Anyway, so tomatoes and peppers, and then more peppers coming down along this side. And we've got some exciting ones. Like I went to the store the other day and picked up these candy cane ones. Isn't that pretty? I'm excited about that. Most things we grow here are organic, not 100% of everything. Our growing methods are organic, but sometimes the plants don't always come from organic places. Now this one is a little bit funny. It was dark and the greenhouse was full, and we were having issues, so we had to get the zucchini out here quickly. And it was getting dark, and I didn't remember that I had planted peas in this bed. Over here we've got some kohlrabi, which I'm super excited about because one, I've never grown it before, and two, I've never even tried it before. So I think they're kind of exciting, you know? Just the idea of a brassica that grows kind of as a bulb above ground like that, it kind of makes no sense. I love celery this year. And you're about to hear that I love a lot of things this year. But this is the first year that I've successfully, and mostly it's through my laziness and forgetfulness, but successfully gotten celery in the ground. Now, I've tried and tried and tried to get celery going from a seed, and I can get it to sprout, but somewhere between it sprouting and it getting big enough to go in the ground, or the transplanting process, but usually it's in the greenhouse that it dies, I struggle so much with celery. So what I've started doing is just cutting off the butt end of the, about this much left of the stalk of celery from the grocery store, and then you just stick that in some water, like in a jar of water. Isn't this lovely? You're gonna get a great view of this. I don't just have a healthy crop of weeds in my garden. I have a very healthy crop of poison ivy. Luckily, it's mostly only my face that's allergic to it. I'm so lucky, huh? Okay, so you get that to sprout roots in water, and then you can just plop it right in some soil. Once it gets big enough, you just chop it off right here, and it'll regrow again and again and again and again. So, let's see, going down this row, we did the same thing with the, the zucchini as we did in the other bed. This one had some beans. So it's sharing beds with some beans. Alright, on this side we have broccoli going down here. It's doing pretty good. And then cauliflower down on that end. And then interplanted with it, we've got mints, different kinds of mints, and then dill. So hopefully, this is kind of my experimental bed here. Hopefully it will keep the cabbage moths away from our brassicas. I don't know if it's going to work. Now in this bed, we've got a bunch of lettuce. These are actually a variety where I got the starts to transplant from a neighbor. She had a bunch that she just needed to get rid of. These are so cute, aren't they? Look at this. I'm pretty sure that this is full grown. Like it's supposed to, I think it's a Tom Thumb, it is. And they just stay little like this. It's so cute. I just love it. There's some more. We got some head lettuces. This is my first year being really successful growing lettuce. Check that out. Good, hard. This is the first time I've ever been really successful growing lettuce. I think I always get them started too late. There's some kale. Doesn't that look yummy? Ever is our kale lover. Race really likes it in his salad too. There's some spinach. I've never had luck with spinach either. It's like a year of miracles for me. I think I always get these things started too late, and then between bug pressure and heat, well, you can tell we had a salad last night, didn't get you? We kind of decimated these. They're a little bit sad. But they just never quite do well for me. But this year, miracles are happening. Alright, so we'll go back over that way in just a second. But for now, these two beds are all pumpkins and very large squashes. We've got big ones, and then we've got tiny ones. And then here we've got nasturtiums just starting up. One of the ways that we keep our garden organic and, pesticide free is to interplant different herbs and flowers and things that will keep the bug pressure down. So, either minimal or not at all. We do not get squash bugs here. Our neighbors right down the road, probably 2-3 properties over, have heavy squash bug problems. But we don't have any. And the reason for that is everywhere that we plant a squash, a watermelon, a cucumber, anything in those families, we surround it by nasturtiums. Squash bugs don't like them. Vine borers don't like them. And so that is my secret to being completely squash bug free in my garden. And they repel a lot of things. If you Google them and just put nasturtiums in everywhere, you'll probably hardly have any bugs of any kind really, because they're really a deter it all kind of flower. Well, on the other side, you can tell we've been planting, huh? The other side we have 2 of these for our large squashes and pumpkins, but over here we have these for our large melons. They're mostly watermelons, but I think there might be a few other kinds too. I'm not sure, I can't really remember. I got a little crazy. All right, so then we have 2 beds. These are corn, if you can't tell. It's kind of hard to see the tiny little blades coming up between everything else. But that's sweet corn. Going down over there is sweet corn. And as you can see, we've got geraniums planted in, and I don't know if I have enough. This is my first year trying it. But geraniums are supposed to repel corn earworms. I'll let you know at the end of the season whether that has actually worked or not, because I know that we get corn earworms here. Alright, so in these bins are all potatoes. I love growing my potatoes in bins because it makes it so much easier at harvest time when you can just dump over the tote. And it, you know, if you want to save your dirt and then just amend it, you can dump it over onto a tarp or something, and that works really well. Okay, so over here, aren't these so pretty? Look at them. I've not been one who really cared much about flowers in the past, but this year I'm all about the flowers. So we have some extra yellow squash and zucchini that we had to plug in somewhere, so we kind of just threw them in over here. And then we have 1, 2, 3 eggplants. All right, so going down this row, we've got cabbages. Every other one is a purple and a green. And you can see there's some dill in there, and maybe it'll deter it, maybe it won't. I don't know. This, I think I'm planning later in the season to just put row covers on, which I've never used before, but I think we're going to try it this year. Now, what's growing on my trellises? Let's start over here. All right, so back there we've got pole beans, and then going down in between those trellises and these trellises, we've got zucchinis. Okay, so then this trellis here and this one here on both sides, so all the way up and around, is cucumbers, and then this last one here on each side is squash. And those are all vining squash that are going to go up and over, and you know, they're not terribly big, they can hold their own. So on this side, going all the way down to there, is squashes on both sides. And then down there, you can't really see much of anything coming up, but it's there, it's just small, are our small melons. I grow everything possible on a trellis. So you see, we got nasturtiums in here with little melon plants. And these were just transplanted like maybe a week or even some days ago. And I think we have zucchinis or yellow squash or something coming in here. So that's pretty much it for now for our garden, for the human garden. We are growing a few other things. I'm working on putting together a garden just for the pigs. I'm not 100% sure what all is going to go in there. And actually, this one is not even done being planted. Our human garden is not even done being planted. Because there's still a bunch in the greenhouse and some stuff that I haven't even started yet. Didn't mind my weedy mess too much. Let me know what you think of my plans, and if you have any questions about what specifically I'm growing. I honestly cannot walk around here and tell you for sure what all the varieties of everything that I have out here are, but if you ask, I can probably list them for you in the comments. So, I'll tell you what, I am so much more hopeful about the garden this year than I was last year. If you haven't seen the garden videos for last year, you should look at them. We've come a long way, guys. We've come a long way. For those of you who have been watching our channel for a while, we had a rough patch last year. Almost everything died. The soil here is not good. It takes a lot of amending. And so I went through a lot of struggle last year and learned a lot. And I think we're doing a lot better this year.